So if we look at an AGI system, sorry to bring it back up, but
Yeah.
Alpha Evolve, super cool. So Alpha Evolve enables, on the programming side, something like recursive self-improvement, potentially. Like what, if we can imagine what that AGI system, maybe not the first version, but a few versions beyond that, what does that actually look like? Do you think it will be simple? Do you think it will be something like a self-improving program and a simple one?
I mean, potentially that's possible, I would say. I'm not sure it's even desirable because that's a kind of like hard takeoff scenario.
Yeah.
But these current systems like Alpha Evolve, they have, human in the loop deciding on various things. They're separate hybrid systems that interact. One could imagine eventually doing that end to end. I don't see why that wouldn't be possible. But right now, I think the systems are not good enough to do that in terms of coming up with the architecture of the code. And again, it's a little bit connected to this idea of coming up with a new conjectural hypothesis. How like they're good if you give them very specific instructions about what you're trying to do. But if you give them a very vague, high-level instruction, that wouldn't work currently. And I think that's related to this idea of like invent a game as good as Go. Right? Imagine that was the prompt. That's pretty underspecified, and so the current systems wouldn't know, I think, what to do with that, how to narrow that down to something tractable. And I think there's similar, like, look, just make a better version of yourself. That's too unconstrained. But we've done it and as you know, with Alpha Evolve, like things like faster matrix multiplication. So when you hone it down to a very specific thing you want, it's very good at incrementally improving that. But at the moment, these are more like incremental improvements, sort of small iterations. Whereas if you wanted a big leap in understanding, you need a much larger advance.
Yeah, but it could also be sort of to push back against hard takeoff scenario. It could be just a sequence of incremental improvements, like matrix multiplication. Like it has to sit there for days thinking how to incrementally improve a thing, and that it does so recursively. And as you do more and more improvement, it'll slow down.
Right.
So there'll be the path to AGI won't be it'll be a gradual improvement over time.
Yes. If it was just incremental improvements, that's how it would look. So the question is, could it come up with a new leap like the Transformers architecture?
Yeah.
Right? Could it have done that back in 2017 when we did it and Brain did it? And it's not clear that these systems, something like AlphaVol, wouldn't be able to make such a big leap. So for sure, these systems are good. We have systems, I think, that can do incremental hill climbing, and that's a kind of bigger question about, is that all that's needed from here, or do we actually need one or two more big breakthroughs?
And can the same kind of systems provide the breakthroughs also? So make it a bunch of S curves, like incremental improvement, but also every once in a while leaps.
Yeah, I don't think anyone has systems that can have shown unequivocally those big leaps. Right, we have a lot of systems that do the hill climbing of the S curve that you're currently on.
Yeah, and that would be the Move 37. Is a leap.
Yeah, I think would be a leap, something like that.